Hi everyone, good afternoon and happy Technique Tuesday on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for being patient with me this month. As many of you know, I've been away on holidays with my husband, celebrating my birthday and a very special friend's 50th birthday in Bali. And I've returned home to miserable rain and wet weather, but it is perfect opportunity for some scrapbooking, right? Thank you so much for joining me today, Pauline. So thank you for being patient with me as I have got this week's challenge up. I'm going to go early, live early today, a little earlier than normal because the weather is so miserable and the lighting was so terrible. I have got my ring light on today, so there is going to be a little bit of glare just over the memory protectors, but I am going to be sliding my layouts in and out or out of the memory protectors today as I do this week's Technique Tuesday. So during the month of July, I am featuring a new scrapbooking workshop kit, which is called Weekend Adventures. Every month I choose a scrapbooking workshop kit from the annual catalogue. Soon to be a mini catalogue, which we're going to be launching in September. But each month I feature a scrapbooking workshop kit. What I decided to do with the annual catalogue this year is work in the order that the kits were displayed. So we did Memories in Bloom in May. We did Turtley Sweet in June. So for July, I am going to be sharing the Weekend Adventures scrapbooking workshop kit. The really cool thing about this kit is we have a new section in the annual catalogue, which is called Scrapbooking from Scratch. So these are additional products that you can purchase separately if you prefer to scrapbook from scratch. And that's exactly what I do every week with my weekly scrapbooking challenges. I scrapbook from scratch. Today, I'm going to be sharing the 3 layouts that you can create with the scrapbooking workshop kit. And then typically what I do, if you are new here, is I use the leftovers from my scrapbooking workshop kit. I bulk them up with some of the scrapbooking from scratch products or other products that coordinate with the color range. And I create extra layouts with those on a weekly basis, which forms part of my weekly scrapbooking challenges. Now, when you scrapbook from scratch, there's some really great tips here in the section of the annual catalogue. As I mentioned, this is a new section to the Stampin' Up! Annual catalogue. And you've got 3 ways to scrapbook here. So you can use the scrapbooking workshop kits, which I've just talked about. They're at the beginning of your annual catalogue here on pages 13 to 21. So this is the one I'm featuring for July. You've got quick and easy scrapbooking. So this section is featured on pages 24 and 31. So you can use printed cards and ephemeras to create simple pocket scrapbooking. So that's another fun option in your annual catalogue to do the simple scrapbooking, the quick and easy scrapbooking, which you can see here on pages 30 and 31. And then we've got this new scrapbooking from scratch range in the back of the catalogue. So you can DIY your scrapbooks with coordinating essentials. And I love that everything is just worked out for me with designer series paper, two-tone cardstock, which is currently on sale at the moment, guys. From the 9th to 11th of July, our two-tone cardstock packs are on sale at 20% off. So they retail normally for $17.50 and then they come down to $14 a pack and you get 12 sheets of two-tone cardstock in there, which is awesome. There's also sticker sheets and stamp sets that coordinate with this scrapbooking from scratch section. So we shared Memories in Bloom in May. I did Turtley Sweet in June. And then we're doing Weekend Adventures for July. So I did invest in an additional packet of the two-tone Weekend Adventures cardstock. These cardstock packs where you get a mixture of different color cardstocks, these are also 20% off as well. And then this designer series paper, you can buy this designer series paper separately, but you don't see it in the catalogue. It is online on my website. A good tip when you are trying to coordinate products, use the search function in my online store type in Weekend Adventures, and then everything that coordinates with this particular range will pop up in the search function. Now, I have here in the catalogue the Designer Series paper and sticker sheet, okay? Now, you are going to get this Designer Series paper pack and sticker sheet in your Scrapbooking Workshop kit, all right? But if you want extra paper, you can get the paper pack just on its own, okay? You will use most of the stickers that are in your Scrapbooking Workshop kit. So as you can see here, I had very little left over in my pack. I've used some of those leftovers on last week's scrapbooking challenge and then again this week. And you can see here there's not many stickers left over either, okay? So it's really up to you to decide whether you want to coordinate your products with just the papers on their own, or you do want that second sticker sheet if you've already bought the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. Typically what I do to help me decide this is this a range that I would use a lot of? Now, if you are into the outdoors a lot, camping, hiking, fishing, caravanning, bushwalking, then yes, you're probably going to get a really great use out of this pack. And that's typically when I will bulk up and get extra products from the Scrapbooking from Scratch range. I love some of the techniques that feature here in the annual catalogue as well. And you can see here that there is a colour palette. So again, something really fun that I love to do to help me to coordinate my products is I will head to my online store, and using the search function, I will type in each of the colours Cajun Craze, and I'll see what pops up, because quite often with my leftovers from my Scrapbooking Workshop kit, I will pull in other papers from other Designer Series paper packs that I might already have. So I like to scrap my stash and use the product that I've already invested in, or I might buy something new and bring that in to do extra layouts with. So I hope you find that technique really fun. Last week I didn't do a Technique Tuesday live because I was away, but I did use these sponge daubers. And in fact, some of this technique that you can see here, I featured in last week's Scrapbooking Challenge, where I've torn the papers, I've crinkled them up in my hand, rolled them up, torn them, and then I've sponge daubed with ink over the paper to get this really fun, distressed, grungy look, which I absolutely love. I love texture. I love that grungy, distressed look, and that's one of my favorite techniques to do. So I hope that helps give you some insight into how I like to coordinate my products, but also how I like to get best bang out of my buck by using up the products that come with the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. Another great tip is that when you purchase the kit, the 12 by 12 inch Designer Series paper do not come with a zip strip, because our papers outside of the Scrapbooking Workshop kit are actually shrink wrapped, so in 12 by 12. And so you will get this card sheet inside the kit. I actually cut that out and stick it on the front of my Scrapbooking Workshop kit, because here it features the coordinating colours that go with this particular Scrapbooking Workshop kit. And in fact, a little tip for you in case you haven't picked this up, with your Scrapbooking Workshop kits inside the catalogue here, it does give you featured colours. So you'll see your featured colours here. You'll also see your featured colours at the back where you have got the Scrapbooking from Scratch range. But something I picked up on is that with my Scrapbooking Workshop kit, there are a couple of colours that they mention here that don't actually feature here or here, okay? So that's a fun tip to know. For example, one of the colours that they say is from this range is Calypso Coral, and that didn't feature in my annual catalogue. So that's just a handy little tip to know, and that does make sense with the Calypso Coral, because you can see some of the colours here in the stickers do have that really nice soft pink colour. So I hope you find that helpful with my little tips there. Now, let's go through this week's Scrapbooking Challenge, and then I'm also going to share the 3 layouts with you from the Scrapbooking Workshop kit. So I have gone back to basics with my patterns. So when I mentioned before with your Scrapbooking from Scratch, You can purchase your products separately, and then you can pick a pattern. Now, there is a wealth of design inspiration that you will find in many, many places. It might be YouTube, it might be Pinterest, it might be a how-to pattern book. These how-to pattern books I invested in some time ago during my time as a maker with close to my heart, and the Reflections scrapbook program is a really great back to basics scrapbooking program, which is full of all sorts of scrapbooking patterns here, as you can see. I have been working with these books because I love them. They're just so quick and simple and easy. And this week's challenge is coming from page 17. We are doing pattern 1D. And here you'll see it is showing you a single page layout. I've just cut everything twice and replicated the image to be able to make a double page layout. So you end up with kind of like a mirror image of your layout. So to create this layout, you're going to need 2 sheets of cardstock as your bases. I have gone with the basic black, and the basic black is two-tone. Okay, now there is another basic black cardstock. So if you are not a fan of basic black cardstock in two-tone, where you tear this and see the white core, it's a little thinner, and obviously the lighter version of that black almost looks like a very dark grey. There is also a basic black cardstock option, which is a thicker and heavier cardstock base, which you can purchase, but it is not part of the two-tone sale. I just want to point that out, okay? So we've got 2 sheets of basic black cardstock. Now, sometimes if I am feeling thrifty, or I have done this style of pattern where I'm covering paper over paper, I often will cut out a square on the back of my paper. Because this is cardstock, I'm not really bothered. And the two-tone cardstock is a little thinner than the two-tone cardstock that we were used to with Close to My Heart, for those of you that transitioned over with me. So I have not cut out a square with this cardstock this week. And then you are going to need 2 sheets of paper coordinating. Again, you could do either designer series paper, or you could use cardstock again if you want to. And you're going to cut that square at 11 by 11. Now, this was the really cool thing. As you can see, I did not have enough paper left over from my scrapbooking workshop kit to be able to do that. So this is where I have brought in another designer series paper pack to bulk up the leftovers that I had from my scrapbooking workshop kit. Because I wasn't organized this month with my holiday, I didn't have these papers here in time. This is where I would have bought or used a second pack of paper to bulk up my leftovers. So I hope that makes sense to you. So what I did was I went through my stash to see what papers I had that might coordinate. And this pack we actually had in last year's annual catalogue, but it is still available for sale. And this is called the Country Lace Designer Series paper. And I keep the card backing with my Designer Series paper because it actually tells me what colours this features in the pack. And basic beige, basic beige and misty moonlight were 2 of the colours that coordinated with Weekend Adventures. So I pull out all of those colours to see which is going to look best, and these 2 11 by 11 inch squares are actually basic beige, and they coordinate with my Weekend Adventures kit. So I like to get all of my papers out and I think, oh, which one's going to be best? As you can see, it's got petal pink on the other side, but these colours all coordinate with the Weekend Adventures range. So if you've got some of the Country Lace in stock, or perhaps you've got some of the Country Wood in stock, then they carried over from last year's annual catalogue, and you might be able to get some really great use out of those papers. They're still available for sale in my online store also. So you wouldn't even know that this was not part of the Weekend Adventures range. It just has paired in so nicely. You're also going to need 2 strips of paper running across the top. This is for your title topper. I have not done a title, as you can see, but this is going to measure at 3 inches wide and 12 inches across. Now, this is where I got really creative with this title topper here, guys, because I did not have enough designer series paper left over from my scrapbooking workshop kit. You might recognize this pattern which is cut on the side. When I show you the layout from the scrapbooking workshop kit, we actually had to cut one of the 12 by 12 inch papers in half using a ruler and just a pair of scissors. Okay, we cut it in half diagonally, so I ended up with this piece. And what I've done here is I've cut 3 different pieces of paper at 3 inches, and then I've just stuck them on the back of each other to end up with my 3-inch strip running across the top. So I had enough of this left over, and I had enough of this left over, but it wasn't enough to carry all the way through. So then I've just bulked it up with some cardstock, and this is in the color Old Olive, but the lighter tone of the Old Olive, okay? And then with my layout, you've got some patterns here that you can get inspiration from. I've gone with this pattern, so I've got a 4 by 6 inch portrait photo. This is the master pattern, and then these 2 photos here were meant to be cut at 3.5 by 3.5, but I cut them at 3 by 3, and then I have matted all my photos as well with coordinating cardstock from the Weekend Adventures pack, and I have used pecan pie and also Old Olive to do my cardstock mats. Now, you had enough room here. If you want, you could probably cut these photos at 4 by 4. I realized after I cut them, I probably could have done them bigger, and then they would have ended up over the top of this banner here. But I actually really love seeing this beautiful designer series paper featured across the top with my title. And then I've just assembled that. There's no measurements here. I have just eyeballed it, okay? So I've just kind of made sure that my border around my 4 by 6 inch photo here is even. And then again with my 2 3 by 3 inch photos, and I've just mirror imaged the layout, okay? So a really quick and easy layout to do. I have got a flip flap on my page here on the right hand side. One of my tips when I use flip flaps is to put your best photo on the top, okay, which usually features people. This is my husband and our son. We took a holiday to the Gold Coast in 2021, which was still COVID, and would you believe we got caught in a 3-day lockdown in an apartment on the Gold Coast. And then we came out of lockdown and we had to cram the rest of our holiday into all of the theme parks that we were meant to do. So this was a day at Movie World, and this was on the Wild West Falls ride. So how cool is it that I have used some theme park photos with these Weekend Adventures papers? I think they just work perfectly. So I've got a 4 by 6 inch flip flap on the top here. Let's take that out. We can get rid of that glare now. And matted all of my photos. And then I have used an old set. This is no longer available, but this was one of the stamp and thin cut sets that Stampin' Up purchased from Close to My Heart during the transition. This did sell out very quickly within the time it was released. So unfortunately you can't purchase it, but if you come to my workshops, then you are most welcome to use my stamp and thin cut set. I have used the colors Old Olive and Pecan Pie to do my stamping. So I've stamped on very vanilla cardstock, and then I have cut the stamped image out using the coordinated die. Okay. I also have, I just want to show you this. These are some of the leftover ones. So I have used this set before on a weekly challenge with the basic beige paper. This is Mossy Meadow and Mocha. That's a Close to My Heart colour. And then I have used, as I mentioned, Old Olive and Pecan Pie. So one of the things I love to do when I'm embellishing is I'll just stamp a whole heap of different stamped images using the coordinating colours, and then I'll cut them out, and then I just sit down and have a play around with grouping them together with embellishment. So I've got a fun little cluster in the top left hand corner here. You can see I've used some of the leftover stickers from my Weekend Adventures scrapbooking workshop kit. This circle here, or half circle I should say, was actually this sticker here, and I've just cut it in my trimmer, in my paper trimmer, just to get the foot imprint, because I didn't want another title sticker on there, and I've just tucked that in and underneath my photo mat there. I've got a little geotag, Stampin' Thin Cut, and then I've used some of the dots from my stash. You guys might remember these. This was from the Natural Botanicals suite, and these are the neutral matte dots. So you've got these in Pecan Pie, Basic Beige. I've used Basic Beige on my layout today. You've got black, and then there's white in there as well. So I have used the Basic Beige. This is where I love to bring in other products that coordinate from a color perspective, but they might be from a completely different suite or range, and I'm just using up my stash. This journal sticker was left over from my scrapbooking workshop kit. I think from memory this was meant to be used on one of the 3 layouts, but I didn't use it. So I've been able to use it on one of my challenges, and you can see I've just done a little embellishment cluster here using a coordination of stickers and stamped dies. I've got another little one down the bottom here. I've also stamped the little arrow. Doesn't it look cute? The little arrow on the cardstock. That's a really fun technique. Like, I could have just left that cardstock plain, but by adding just like a little stamped image over your plain cardstock in the same coordinating color, actually just helps to elevate that. I've got a little embellishment cluster here only to cover up a mess up I made with my stamp. I dropped my stamp and ended up with some ink here. So I've got some of the stickers and stamped images, a little dots cluster here, which is super cute. And then I've got my big title here, Enjoy the Journal. And then I've used some of the leftover stickers here from my scrapbooking workshop kit. And I always put the date on my layouts because that is important. There is nothing worse. I remember going through my albums from when I was a child. I'm like, I have no idea how old I am, who's in the photos, what date the photos were taken. So I'm a little bit of a stickler for that. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's challenge. My technique was adding stamped die cut images. I have shown that many times before. So I wanted to show you something different today, because with the technique that you're using for the scrapbooking workshop kit, you are going to use linen thread. So let me grab my layouts out and let's have a look at those. So I will take them out of the memory protectors as I'm going through. Every month during one of my Technique Tuesdays, I also share the 3 scrapbooking workshop kit layouts that we are doing as well, because that is fun to see the scrapbooking workshop kit in the flesh. Now, when you purchase your scrapbooking workshop kit, you will do 3 double page layouts with step-by-step instructions, which I have here. I cut exactly to the instructions, but then I might alter the layout a little bit by adding extra photo mats or moving my sticker and embellishment clusters around to make more room on my base pages. With every scrapbooking workshop kit, it's going to feature a technique, and the technique for this month's kit that I'm teaching is embellishing with linen thread. Now, that added technique or that featured technique is optional, okay? So it's not compulsory for you to do. You can do it or not do it. It says here, embellish with linen thread for a touch of organic texture. And you all know how much I love the organic texture, right? So if you're going to do the featured technique in the scrapbooking workshop kit, make sure you have a read through this, because it will let you know what the technique is. And then if you need additional products to purchase. So the kit on its own is $65, and it comes with all of your papers, stickers, cardstock, your guide, your photo placeholders. But then there's these additional products that you need to invest in. Now, for many of you that have been scrapbooking with me for a long time, you already have your basics, which is pretty much a Stampin' Seal. That is your adhesive. Stampin' Dimensionals, which are some puffy adhesives. You need your paper trimmer, because you'll have to cut down all of your 12 by 12 inch paper. And then the additional product sold separately was the linen thread. So a packet of this was $8.75, okay, and it's in a really nice basic beige color to give you that texture. So today, what I'm going to do, I've actually just cut a little bit of it left off already, and I'm going to share with you where I've used that on my scrapbooking layouts, and then I'm just going to show you a couple of fun techniques that you can use. So let's take this out of the memory protector and get rid of that glare. Layout number 1, I have used some photos from a trip that I took to Salt Lake City a couple of years ago, and we went up to the top of Snowbird Mountain. So hello, do these photos just not look perfect with this? I've got a flip-flap on top here. So you can see here, I've stuck to the layout with the 2 landscape photos, and I've just kind of slightly moved my stickers out a little bit so they're not covering my photo. And then I've got a flip-flap here on top. I'm going to take that out so we can get rid of that glare. Now on layout number 1, I have not used any of the embellishing thread. So as you go through and you put your layouts together, it will tell you if there's any preparation that you need to do. We were actually, that's right, we were doing it in a bow. Now, where was the bow? Oh, it's down here. Okay, so it tells me what the prep is to cut my linen thread and tie it in a bow. And you can see here on the right-hand side page, they've tied this bow underneath and they've stuck it under the sticker. And because I love the textured look so much, what I've done here is I've just wrapped the linen thread around the sticker a few times. And you can see here that this is where I've made a slight addition to the layout. So I do not change the cutting. I cut the papers exactly the way the instructional guide tells me to cut. But you can see here I've got these 3 photos. And here I've added on an extra photo here, and I've just moved my stickers out to the edge of the page, okay? I've put my little sticker journal box down here instead, so I've got that extra photo on the top there, okay? And then I've just moved these stickers down a little bit so it wasn't cutting through the photo. So I would really encourage you to cut the papers the exact way that they're designed to be cut, because the whole purpose of these scrapbooking workshop kits is to save you time and money and also brain power, because all of the design and the math is already done for you, okay? So this is where I've tied the linen thread around the sticker. Now, because it's on a sticker, this is really easy to stick down and just tie it over a few times, okay? So that's layout number 1. I have also incorporated a Memory Protector Pocket Plus. Stampin' Up! Do not sell these. This were a product that close to my heart sold, and I had some left over. But it is an option for me to get extra photos onto my layout, as you can see here. I really, really love this product. And yes, I have made a suggestion in the suggestion box. So if you are a demonstrator and you are watching this and you think that we could get good use out of some Memory Protector Pocket Plus, please pop it in the suggestion box. I'm going to show you this layout number 2 here, just with my memory protectors on, because I've got a flip flap here. Cute, cute. And then I've got, oh, that's meant to be like that, but it flipped out. I've got a flip flap here, okay? So what I'm going to do is take this out of the memory protector, just so we can get rid of that glare, and walk you through layout number 2. Now, here's a linen thread here. The linen thread is actually wrapped around in this little die cut. There's a hole here. It looks like a cute little bookmark. And then I've just wrapped this linen thread around here a few times, okay? Now, layout number 2, I have cut the papers exactly the way it told me to cut. But you can see here, this was meant to have only 1 single photo. And all I did, I had enough leftover cardstock. I cut an extra photo mat at 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I've been able to get 2 portrait photos on my layout. It just has meant that these stickers and little die cuts here, I've just had to move them to the outside of the page. So I'll pop my photos down first, and then I just move any other embellishments a little bit further out, and this enables me to get extra photos on my page, okay? So you can have creative license with your stickers and your die cuts, but please cut the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit the way it's designed to be cut, because you are going to get best use of your paper. Layout on the right hand side, I haven't moved around too much. I've kept the basic layout here. I've just moved my journal box out, because if I'd have put it here, it was going to cover this part of my photo. So there's no twine on this side here. So that is layout number 2. And then last but by no means least, we've got layout number 3. Let's slide this out. There's no flip-flap on this one. This is layout number 3. So as you can see, beautiful camping photos. The layout I showed you before was a hiking photo. And here I've got a flip-flap. I love to take screenshots when I'm traveling of things, and quite often we'll put them into my layouts. But the best photo goes on top, as I've mentioned. Oh, there's another flip-flap here too. It's the layout that keeps on giving, guys. I love this. So this was a really fun layout to create. This was a camping trip we took to Renmark. During COVID, when we weren't allowed to leave our state, I was meant to go overseas, but I couldn't go. And I already had leave booked at work. I had to take it. So we went camping instead. And you know what, guys? It was one of my most favourite family holidays I've ever had. So let's have a look here at layout 3. There was no twine on this particular layout, but I did make some slight alterations. Again, instead of the one portrait photo in the middle, I've stuck everything else where it's meant to be stuck. I've just cut an extra photo map with some leftover paper, and I've aligned that in the middle so it's still balanced. Okay, this is where I didn't use that sticker journal box. All right, I haven't used that sticker journal box here. I use that on my challenge. And then because I've put an extra photo on here, there wasn't much room for me to do this little embellishment cluster. So I haven't used these stickers over here where they're meant to be. Okay, I've put a couple of them up here on the love heart. And on my right hand side page, I've kept all of this the same. I didn't have another portrait photo to fill this mat here, so I cut 2 photos at 3x4 inch. And I've got this super cute little photo collage here with the ducks and our camping. And then there was enough room here down the bottom. I've still got this cluster here, but I had enough room for this other photo. I had to get this on. Look at this beautiful sibling love, right? So I've just cut another photo mat at 3x4, sorry, 3¼ by 4¼ to fit this 3x4 inch photo. And then it's meant I've just had to move my stickers down and over here. Okay, and I haven't used the circular one here. So you can have your creative license with your stickers and die cuts, but I love sticking to the plan in terms of where the base of the papers are meant to go, and I just add on those extra photos where I can. Now, I've definitely seen people take the scrapbooking workshop kits and completely reinvent the wheel, and if that's your jam, then you go, girl, you do you, 100%. But I have found in my experience, and I've been using the style of kits for, oh my gosh, I want to say 14 years. This helps me to get my photos and my stories in albums because I can create my layouts quickly and easily. Like, I'm talking 4 hours, girls, okay? All three layouts done, everything cut, assembled, photos on, and layouts done in those 4 hours. So I hope you found those little tips helpful with the scrapbooking workshop kit. What I wanted to show you with the linen thread, a really fun technique. So I've showed you with the sticker where we just wrap it around the sticker. Something fun I like to do. So this, I actually could have done it around this sticker here, or that's a die cut. I could have done it around this die cut. I've got a little bit of cardstock here. I just pop some adhesive onto the back of my cardstock. Now, I would probably stamp on this first or journal on this first. And then I would wrap my linen thread, or even your twine, if you've got twine. I do like the thick twine. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy. But just by putting a little bit of adhesive on the back there. Oh my gosh, I already love this. How cute is this, right? Just by wrapping that around a couple of times, you've just got that really fun little creative texture around your cardstock there. So I could stamp a title here now. I could use this as a journal box there. A really other fun thing to do as well is you can get your tweezers. If I had, this is probably better shown with the bookmark. Here, you could get your tweezers, which I have done here, and I've just run it through the linen thread just to break up the thread and just make it a little thicker as well. Okay, this is quite thin. You can see where I've run that through there. So you can get your tweezers to do that. It's probably worthwhile doing afterwards, but you just want to be really gentle when you do this because you don't want to be scratching your papers or your photos, okay? But that just unravels the thread or your twine a little bit, and it just grabs and makes that a bit of a thicker textured feature. So you could keep it as is if you want, but I think that that looks quite rustic and fun. So I hope that you have enjoyed those tips with the scrapbooking workshop kit, but also for this week's scrapbooking challenge. And I look forward to bringing you more fun layouts during the month of July. Now I'm back from holidays. Thanks for watching, everyone. Keep warm, keep dry, and I will see you all very soon. Bye for now.